Welcome to today's SamvaadX News Podcast. Today is 21st April 2025.
I'm Raj Patel.
And I'm Priya Shah. So quite a mix today. We've got everything from, high-level diplomacy with the U.S. VP visit, right down to national policy shifts on health, and even a look back at space history.
Absolutely. It really covers a lot of ground. And you can see how interconnected some of these things are, actually.
Definitely. Where should we start? Maybe with the U.S. Vice President's visit? That seems pretty major.
Sounds good. Yes, J.D. Vance arrived in New Delhi. It's a 4-day visit, and he's actually brought his family along, his wife Usha, and their 3 kids.
Oh, interesting. So not just purely official business then.
Well, there's certainly a lot of official business planned, high-level meetings in Delhi, including talks with PM Modi today at his residence. The agenda is focused on bilateral trade, strengthening ties, the usual important stuff.
Right.
But yeah, they've also built in some cultural trips. Jaipur and Agra are on the list, apparently for the children to connect a bit with their Indian heritage, through their mother Usha.
That's a nice touch. Adds a different dimension to the visit, doesn't it? Especially as it's his first official visit as VP.
Exactly. It sets a certain tone, and it comes just as we're hearing about progress on finalizing terms for a potential bilateral trade agreement.
Ah, okay. So the timing is significant there, too. We'll circle back to that trade agreement detail later then.
Definitely. But staying domestic for a moment. Today's also quite important here in India, isn't it? April 21st.
It is, yes. It's the 17th National Civil Services Day, and PM Modi is scheduled to address civil servants. This is his 7th time doing so.
That's right, his 7th time. It really highlights the government's consistent emphasis on the bureaucracy's role.
So what's the expected focus this year? More on governance reforms.
Yeah, the themes are expected to be around governance reforms, definitely efficiency, and, the future role of the civil services in meeting India's big development goals. It's about keeping that administrative engine running smoothly, I suppose.
Makes sense. Now, switching gears completely health, there's news about leprosy treatment changing.
Yes, a significant update. The Union Health Ministry has directed states and union territories to adopt a new 3-drug regimen for possibacillary leprosy, PB leprosy.
Possibacillary, okay. And this replaces the old approach.
It does. The previous standard was a 2-drug regimen. This new one involves 3 drugs taken over 6 months. It basically aligns India's approach with the latest international multi-drug therapy, or MDT, practices.
And the goal behind this, is it part of the broader eradication plan?
Precisely. It's a key step under the National Leprosy Eradication Program, aiming for, complete eradication by 2027.
Yeah.
So refining the treatment is crucial.
Okay. Now let's turn to the political arena. Sounds like the Congress Party is making a big push today.
They are, yeah. They've planned simultaneous press conferences across, 57 cities. Quite an operation.
57 cities, wow. What's the message?
The stated objective is, and I quote, to expose the BJP's lies and, counter the ruling party's narrative. They've got senior leaders involved. P. Chidambaram is doing the one in Delhi. Shashi Tharoor is apparently covering Lakshadweep.
Interesting spread. And the focus areas. Economy, social issues.
Yeah, exactly that. Economic policies, social issues, governance critiques. It's clearly a strategy to engage the public directly and, challenge the government on multiple fronts at once.
We'll have to see how much traction that gets. It's a bold move doing it all simultaneously like that.
It is. Now, stepping back a bit, historically speaking, there was a significant anniversary just a couple of days ago, April 19th.
Yes, the Aryabhata satellite. 50 years since its launch, India's first satellite.
That's the one. Launched back in 1975, with help from the Soviet Union, of course, but developed by our own ISRO. A huge moment.
Absolutely foundational. And its mission was quite ambitious for the time, wasn't it? X-ray astronomy, solar physics.
And astronomy, yeah. It actually had a fairly short operational life, only about 5 days in orbit before a power failure, and contact was lost after a few months. But the data gathered, and more importantly, the experience gained, it was invaluable. It really kicked off India's entire space program.
A real testament to early Indian scientific capability. From there to, everything ISRO does now. Amazing.
Truly. Okay, shifting back to current political discourse, there's been some controversy involving a BJP MP, Nishikant Dubey.
Yes, I saw reports about that. He made some remarks criticizing the judiciary and also former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi.
That's right. He apparently questioned the judiciary's role, sort of suggesting Parliament is supreme, and then linked Mr. Qureshi's religion to his views on the Walk Act.
Oof, that's stepping into sensitive territory.
Very much so. Opposition leaders jumped on it immediately, calling it an attack on judicial independence. The BJP itself has actually distanced itself, stating they don't agree with Dubé's comments.
Damage control, perhaps? It highlights those ongoing tensions around institutional roles.
Definitely. And speaking of laws and potential changes, there's talk about amendments to India's nuclear laws.
Right, the Atomic Energy Act, and crucially, the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act, the CLNDA. What's the issue there?
Well, the main focus seems to be on the CLNDA, specifically the provisions around supplier liability. The current law holds suppliers potentially liable in case of an accident, which is stricter than many international conventions.
And that's putting off investors. Or suppliers, rather.
It's seen as a deterrent, yes, particularly for private and international companies looking to get involved in India's nuclear power expansion. So the idea is likely to amend the law, possibly bringing supplier liability more in line with global norms like the Convention on Supplementary Compensation to boost that investor confidence.
Okay, that makes sense if they want to expand nuclear power. Let's look overseas now. News out of Israel regarding Gaza.
Yes, the Israeli military has acknowledged what they called professional failures and operational errors. This relates to the killing of 15 Palestinian emergency medical workers in Gaza.
15 medics. How did they say it happened?
They stated that ambulances were misidentified as Hamas targets. Apparently, issues like poor visibility and operational misunderstandings contributed to this tragic error.
That's awful. This follows considerable international outcry, right?
It does. There have been strong calls for investigation and accountability following these deaths. This admission is a significant step, though the underlying tragedy remains.
Indeed. On a slightly more positive international note, back to India-U.S. ties, you mentioned progress on a trade agreement earlier.
Yes, related to the VP's visit perhaps, or at least the timing is convenient. Reports suggest India and the U.S. have finalized the reference terms for a potential bilateral trade agreement, or BTA.
Finalized terms. That sounds like real progress. Across how many areas?
Across 19 core chapters, apparently, covering things like trade in goods, services, customs procedures, digital trade. Quite comprehensive.
So what's the next step then?
An Indian delegation is expected to visit Washington, D.C. around April 23rd, so just in a couple of days, to carry the discussions forward. It signals a pretty strong intent from both sides to deepen those economic ties.
Okay, something to watch closely. Now, a very worrying environmental story has emerged. The Hindu Kush region, record low snowfall.
Yes, really alarming news from ISOMOD, the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. Their latest report shows snow levels in the Hindu Kush Himalaya are at a 23-year low.
23 years, that's significant.
It is, and it's the third year in a row that the snowpack has been below average. This poses a severe threat to water security for millions, maybe billions of people downstream in South Asia who rely on that meltwater.
For drinking water, agriculture.
Exactly. Drinking water, farming, hydropower. It impacts everything. It's a stark reminder of climate change impacts in our region and really underlines the need for, urgent regional cooperation on water management.
Absolutely critical. Shifting focus again, the aftermath of the earthquake in Myanmar sounds devastating. The death toll keeps rising.
It does, tragically. The latest figures put the death toll at over 3,700. Rescue operations are still ongoing, especially in hard-hit areas like Pinelwyn.
And infrastructure damage is hampering efforts.
Yes, there's widespread damage reported, including to the main Yangon-Mandalay Expressway. International aid is starting to arrive. China, for instance, just sent its 7th batch of supplies. Myanmar's leadership has also been visiting the affected regions, a very difficult situation.
Closer to home, in West Bengal, the situation in Murshidabad seems to be calming down after the recent violence.
Reports suggest things are normalizing, yes. Families who had fled are apparently starting to return home. This was related to those protests around the WAF law changes.
But the political fallout continues.
It seems so. The CPIM is demanding a proper probe, and they're blaming both the ruling TMC and the BJP for what they call competitive communalism, essentially accusing both sides of stoking tensions. The state governor is also expected to visit the affected areas soon.
Right. And there was also a security incident in Manipur.
Yes, in Thoubal district. Security forces conducted an operation, arrested 7 individuals, and seized some arms and ammunition.
Was there any trouble during the operation?
There was some resistance from locals, apparently. Reports say security forces had to use non-lethal ammunition, like tear gas and rubber bullets, to disperse crowds that gathered. It just highlights the persistent security challenges there.
Okay. Let's switch to some positive economic news now. A big investment in Telangana.
Huge news, actually. Telangana has secured a massive investment, 10,500 crore, from two companies, NTT Data and Nason Networks.
Wow, 10,500 crore. What for?
For setting up a major AI data center hub in Hyderabad. It's aimed at really strengthening Hyderabad's position as a leading tech hub, specifically fostering AI innovation.
That's a significant boost. Will mean jobs too, presumably.
Definitely expected to create jobs and likely attract even more investment into that ecosystem. It really builds on Hyderabad's existing tech infrastructure.
Good news indeed. Okay, let's quickly run through some other headlines making waves. IPL action.
Yep, cricket fans paying attention. Last night, Mumbai Indians beat Chennai Super Kings quite convincingly by 9 wickets. Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav both starred. And Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Punjab Kings by 7 wickets, with Virat Kohli leading the chase.
So the points table must be shifting around.
It is. MI making a move up, RCB solidifying a top 4 spot for now, while CSK are finding themselves near the bottom, which is unusual for them.
Always drama in the IPL. What else? Something about robots in a marathon.
Yes. Slightly quirky one from Beijing.
Yeah.
21 humanoid robots actually participated in the city's half marathon.
Seriously, how did they do?
Well, only 4 of them managed to finish within the 4-hour time limit. So it shows the progress in humanoid robotics, but also perhaps the challenge is still ahead.
4 hours is pretty slow for a half marathon. Okay, what about banking sector results?
They're looking strong. HDFC Bank reported its Q4 net profit up by 6.7% year-on-year, reaching 17,616 crore. And ICICI Bank also did well. Q4 profit after tax jumped 18% year-on-year to 12,630 crore.
Solid numbers. Suggests the banking sector is pretty robust right now.
Seems that way. And related to overall economic health, India's forex reserves have increased again.
Oh, yeah. For how long now?
It's the 6th consecutive week they've risen, up by about $1.57 billion this week, reaching a total of nearly $678 billion. Reflects positive capital flows, general confidence.
Good indicator. Okay, a couple more things. A warning from the Home Ministry.
Yes, an important alert about online booking scams. They're specifically targeting pilgrims heading to places like Kedarnath, Showdown Yatra, and other religious tourist spots.
How are the scams working?
Through fake websites, dodgy social media posts, even WhatsApp accounts offering helicopter bookings, accommodations, things like that, which turn out to be fraudulent.
Right. So the advice is...
Be cautious. Verify everything. Always use the official portals. The alert mentions heliotra.rrccc.co.in, specifically for Heli services, and report any suspicious activity to cybercrime.gov.in or the helpline 1930.
Okay, good advice to spread. And one last, rather unfortunate item from Madhya Pradesh.
Yes, quite disturbing. A doctor there has been sacked after a video went viral showing him assaulting an elderly patient.
Assaulting a patient?
Yeah, the video apparently showed the doctor slapping and dragging a 77-year-old man. It caused widespread outrage, understandably, and led to his immediate dismissal and investigation.
Terrible incident. Right, I think that covers the main headlines for today. Quite a range.
It really is. From global diplomacy and national policy down to local incidents and technological leaps. It gives you a real sense of the complexity of things right now.
It does. And thinking about how they all connect, the international visits impacting trade, which connects to economic health shown by bank profits and Forex, while tech investments like the AI hub point to the future, all underpinned by governance discussions like on Civil Services Day. Quite a web.
Absolutely. You pull one thread and you find it's connected to so many others.
See you tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to SamvaadX News Podcast channel and hit that bell icon.